Science for Quarter 3, Week 1. Force. Matatag curriculum, bansang makabata, batang makabansa. With me, Teacher KMT. Good day, kids! Today, we will learn about force. Here are the possible objectives for today's lesson. Number 1. Identify rigid and soft objects based on physical characteristics. Number 2. Classify objects as rigid and soft objects. Number 3. Define force as a push or a pull exerted on an object. Number 4. Describe forces using arrows in given situations. Number 5. Identify forces in our daily tasks. Number 6. Investigate how rigid and soft objects respond to applied forces. Short review. Pushing and pulling experiences. Have you ever experienced being pushed or pulled by somebody? Have you encountered situations where objects were pushed or pulled? Have you been involved in pushing or pulling something or someone? In your experiences, was anyone hurt due to pushing or pulling? Lesson purpose. This lesson purpose is to be guided by your actual teacher. Unlocking content area vocabulary. Unscramble the letters and draw the symbol. Number 1. What is the correct term and symbol for this? Good job! The correct term is movement. And this is the correct symbol. Number 2. What is the correct term and symbol for this? Great! The correct term is rigid objects, and the correct symbol is this. Number 3. What is the correct term and symbol for this? Excellent! The correct term is soft objects, and the correct symbol is this. Number 4. What is the correct term and symbol for this? Good job! The correct term is force, and the correct symbol is this. Now let us learn their meaning. Number 1, movement is the change in the position of an object over time. Look at the symbol. Number 2, rigid objects. Objects that are hard and cannot be easily bent, deformed, or compressed. Look at the symbol. Number 3, soft objects. Objects that can easily bend, deform, or compress. Look at the symbol. And number 4, force. It is a push or pull. Look at the symbol. What comes to your mind when you hear the word force? A force is an action that changes or maintains the motion of a body or object. It is either a push or a pull. This is push or pushing. The arrow or force is going right or forward. On the other hand, this is pull or pulling. The arrow or force is going left or backward. Before learning further about forces, you need to know about rigid and soft object first. Scientists explore, describe, and try to discover more about the things around us. Similarly, you may start exploring the things around you by describing and classifying them based on their characteristics. Tell whether the object around you is soft or rigid. An object is considered rigid if it is hard and cannot be easily bent, deformed, or compressed.
Can you name objects around you that cannot be easily bent?
In your classroom, you may see the floor of your classroom, the chair, the table, the shelf, the doorknob, and outside the classroom, you may see a rock. On the other hand, soft objects can be easily bent, deformed, or compressed. Can you name objects that can easily bend? A leaf, paper, bread, sponge, cotton, and cloth are examples of soft objects. Kids, remember, it is important to distinguish between soft and rigid objects because it determines how much force is needed to change their shape, move, stop, or change their direction. When we know an object is rigid, we can exercise caution to avoid getting hurt or injured in pulling or pushing it. Forces can change an object's speed, its direction, and even its shape. The force can help the ball move fast. Force can also stop a moving ball. The force helps give different directions. When the ball receives too much force, it can deform its shape. Work example. Draw an arrow to the picture to show the direction of the force, whether it is a push or pull applied in each situation below. The arrows representing forces may be directed upward, downward, to the right, or forward, to the left or backward, or diagonally depending on the forces applied. Here is an example. Let's start. Number 1. A boy is carrying a bag. Where must we place the arrow? Very good. We will place the arrow directing upward. Number 2. A boy is pushing the light switch. Where must we place the arrow? Correct. We must place the arrow directing right or forward. Number 3. A boy is pulling a chair. Where must we place the arrow? Great! We must place the arrow directing right or forward. Number 4. The bigger hand is pulling the rubber band. Where must we place the arrow? Correct. We must place the arrow directing right or forward. Number 5. The girl is sweeping the floor. Where must we place the arrow? Good job! We must place the arrow directing right diagonal or forward. Additional activity. Let's investigate. What do you think will happen if the eyeglasses kept in your bag suddenly receive too much force? Excellent! The eyeglasses will be broken. What do you think will happen if the car failed to start and will not receive enough force from a person? Good job! The car will not move. What do you think will happen to a clay if played by a child? Great! The child can create many shapes. Let's answer. Number 1. How would you represent a pushing force in a diagram? What about a pulling force? Good job! In this part, you may draw two persons pushing and pulling a box. Number 2. Can you identify situations in which forces are balanced or equal? How would you draw the arrows for balance or equal forces? Very good! A tug-of-war game where neither team is winning. The rope is not moving because both teams are pulling with equal force in opposite direction. Lesson activity. This lesson activity is to be guided by your actual teacher. Learners' takeaways. Real-life connection. Number 1. Why do we need to be aware of how the things around us are moving? Good job! We need to be aware of how things around us are moving, for it helps us understand potential dangers and avoid accidents. For example, being aware of moving vehicles on the road can prevent accidents while crossing. Number 2. Why is it important to learn how forces affect how things move? Correct! Learning how forces affect how things move is crucial because it helps us how forces affect the speed, direction, and shape of objects. For example, understanding the force of gravity helps explain why objects fall toward the earth. Number 3. What important scientific skills have you developed in this lesson? Why do you need to develop them? Very good! In this lesson, I developed important scientific skills such as observation and experimentation. These skills help us gather information about what happens to objects when we apply forces on them. For values integration, number 1. How can you ensure safety when doing your daily tasks that involve pushing or pulling objects? Great! We can ensure safety when pushing or pulling objects by making sure the area is free of obstacles to prevent tripping or stumbling while pushing or pulling. Number 2. What are your responsibilities at home and school? Why do you think you're assigned these responsibilities at young age? Excellent! Responsibilities at home and school may include tasks such as chores, homework, and helping others. These responsibilities are assigned at a young age to teach important life skills and instill values such as responsibility, accountability, and teamwork. These responsibilities help us children develop into responsible and capable individuals. Reflection on learning. This reflection on learning is to be guided by your actual teacher. Evaluating learning. True or false? Write true if the statement is true, otherwise write false. Number 1. A force is a push or pull applied to an object. Is it true or false? Correct. True. Number 2. A doorknob is an example of a rigid object. Is it true or false? Very good. True. Number 3. A clay is an example of a soft object. Is it true or false? Great! True. Number 4. You push a broom to sweep trash on the floor. Is it true or false? Good job! True. Number 5. When an object is pulled, it moves towards the direction of the pull. Is it true or false? Good job! True. Next, completion. Draw an arrow to represent the force applied in each daily task below. Number 1. Wiping the blackboard upward. Where must we place the arrow? Good job! We will place the arrow upward. Number 2. Pulling a chair backward. Where must we place the arrow? Great! We will place the arrow backward. Number 3. Lifting a box. Where must we place the arrow? Great! We will place the arrow upward. Number 4. Pushing a door. Where must we place the arrow? Good job! We will place the arrow forward. And number 5. Throwing a trash into the bin. Where must we place the arrow? Correct! We will place the arrow forward. Well done, kids! What have we learned today? Today, we learn about that a force is an action that changes or maintains the motion of a body or object. It is either a push or a pull. Forces can change an object's speed, its direction, and even its shape. An object is considered rigid if it is hard and cannot be easily bent, deformed, or compressed. Examples of these objects are the floor inside your classroom, the chair, table, shelf, doorknob, and rock. On the other hand, soft objects can be easily bent, deformed, or compressed. Examples of these objects are leaf, paper, bread, sponge, cotton, and cloth. It is important to distinguish between soft and rigid objects because it determines how much force is needed to change their shape, move, stop, or change their direction. When we know an object is rigid, we can exercise caution to avoid getting hurt or injured in pulling or pushing it. Kids, thank you for listening. I hope you have learned. Please do not forget to click the like, share, and subscribe.